Cold-Blooded Killer. Episode 1. The story that I am about to tell you is a real serious case that happened in 1985. The story begins at the Shaanxi Provincial Police Headquarters. It was a May morning. Not long after the police station opened, a panicked man ran in. His name was Fei. His appearance was extremely panicked, and his mouth kept telling the police officer on duty that he had an urgent matter to report. The police officer on duty today, named Hong, saw Fei's panicked appearance. He just advised him to calm down and tell him everything. It turned out that Fei ran to the police station to report his brother. According to Fei, his brother had been missing for many days. As a relatively young police officer, Hong is one of the most capable police officers here. He poured a glass of water and gave it to Fei. After noticing that Fei had calmed down, Hong started taking out a pen and paper to jot down what Fei was about to say. According to Fei, 10 days ago, he and his younger brother named Dong went to the market to sell some farm produce made by the family. At the same time, buy more feed for the livestock at home. Because this market only meets once a month, so many people come to buy and sell. So Fei and his brother quickly bought what they needed and started returning home. After returning to the village they lived in, they separated because both were married, so they no longer lived together. Everything was going fine until the next day. While Fei and his wife were having dinner together, suddenly there was a knock on his door. Hearing the knock on the door, you can see that this person is in a hurry. Fei and his wife looked at each other, not understanding what was going on. Fei's wife immediately ran to open the door. The person who came was Ling, Dong's wife. She just saw her sister-in-law. Ling asked if Dong was here or not. After looking inside the house and not seeing her husband, she just continued that early yesterday morning, her husband said he would go to the market with his brother, but she didn't understand why he hadn't come home until now. Hearing what her sister-in-law just said, Fei showed a surprised expression. Obviously, he saw his brother back home. How could he go missing? Fei immediately asked her sister-in-law if she had looked at the places where Dong used to go often. But Fei suddenly remembered, his brother is a very responsible person. Never has he played so much without coming home like that. Fei could only comfort his sister-in-law and say that maybe Hong stopped by a friend's family and stayed there. Despite saying that, Fei was also extremely worried, and in the following days, he went to many places to find his brother. By chance, while searching, he met an old friend of his. He immediately told his brother's story to his friend. Fei's friend works at a local bank. He says he hasn't seen Dong for a long time, but one thing makes him feel strange. According to Fei's friend, a man brought Dong's passbook to his workplace to withdraw money a few days ago. While smoking a cigarette in his hand, Fei's friend told the story of a few days ago. In the morning, very early on, a man came to the bank. This man is about 40 years old and not very tall. Because he is Fei's friend, he knows Dong well, so when he heard the man's request, he felt strange and asked about the origin of this passbook. The man said that because he needed money urgently, Dong borrowed a large amount of money from him, but because Dong could not afford that amount, he offered to pay with the money in this passbook. The story became even more strange. Fei immediately asked about the man's characteristics. To help his friend, Fei's friend tried to describe the man's identity who came to withdraw the money as accurately as possible. After recording the incident, the police said Fei returned home to wait for the investigation results. But 5 days later, someone came to the police headquarters to report another missing case. This time the missing person is Chang, a new migrant worker who has not been here long. The police immediately made a record of the incident. They asked those who came to report information related to the missing person. According to the person who came to report, their group had a total of 3 people. They come from a poor rural area in a southern province, come here to look for work. But since we parted at the train station, there was no contact with Chang anymore. According to the person accompanying Chang, when they first arrived here, right at the train station, they met a man. This person took the initiative to talk to the group and said he needed someone to work on his farm. Although there were 3 people in the group, the man only accepted 1 person. In the group, Chang is the youngest person and also the one with the most difficult family situation, so the 2 friends who accompanied him gave him this job. The other 2 continued to look for work, but the 2 could no longer contact Chang from here. After searching for days but not finding my friend, this man was afraid that something bad had happened to his friend, so he informed the police. After receiving the information, the police said they would investigate this matter as soon as possible. The police will report back when the results are available. But there is one special thing that the police realized is that the man who withdrew Dong's money and the man at the train station is the same person. Although he reported the incident to the police, Chang's friends were still not reassured. They take advantage of the holidays to find their friends. During a search at the station, they meet the strange man who took Chang away by chance. Perhaps this man did not remember the faces of 2 of Chang's friends, but they remembered him very well. The 2 quickly controlled and brought this man to the police headquarters. At the police station, the other man confessed that his name was Jeming. First, the police asked Jeming where he got Dong's passbook. Jeming confessed that Dong had to take that passbook to pay because Dong owed him some money but couldn't pay it. Next, the police continued to ask about Chang, who was hired by Jeming to work on his farm. Still, with a very calm attitude, Jeming answered the police that it was true that Chang worked on his farm, but 3 days ago, Chang applied for a salary and went out, so far has not returned to the farm. After questioning Jeming, Hong discovered some irregularities in Jeming's testimony, but he still consulted his superiors about this case. After reading Jeming's testimony, Hong's superiors decided to temporarily detain Jeming and then proceed to verify the doubts. Immediately, Jeming was taken to the detention room. Along with Jeming's detention, Hong also investigated Jeming's identity. Only 2 days after the results were available, he immediately reported to the director. According to what Hong investigated, Jeming was quite a special person. He lost his father at a young age. Due to his short appearance and bald head, he was often discriminated against by others. He also has a wife who is often ill and bedridden. According to the evaluation of those who have come into contact with Jeming, he is a fierce personality and eccentric. Feeling that this is not as simple as it seems, the police station director instructs Hong to handle this matter carefully. He ordered Hong to bring people to Jeming's house to check the situation in the immediate future. If there is nothing suspicious, Jeming must be released after the 48-hour detention period expires. On the director's orders, Hong brought an employee of the investigation team to Jeming's house to examine the situation. The first impression of Jeming's house is that it's degraded. Everything here is old and messy, like no one has cleaned it up for a long time. As soon as he entered the yard, the stench made Hong feel uncomfortable. But when opening the door to enter the house, the stench of the membrane was more terrible. Hong's subordinate could not stand it but had to put his hand up to cover his nose. There was almost no furniture in the house, only a bed at the end of the room, where Jeming's wife was lying. Everywhere on the floor is garbage, so much garbage that there is no place to walk. Seeing 2 police officers enter the house, Jeming's wife felt extremely worried. Hong's subordinates reassured her that they were only there to check on the situation for a while and then leave. The police began to ask Jemin's wife if she had ever seen two people named Dong and Cheng come here. Jemin's wife says she doesn't know anyone named Dong, but Cheng she does. This person came here to work but somehow left a few days ago. While talking to the police, Jemin's wife kept glancing at the door leading to the back room. This made Hong suspicious. He immediately asked about that room, when Jemin's wife expressed concern and said nothing was in it. Hong's subordinate immediately opened the door. He said he would only check a bit and then come out. It is quite strange that both Jeming and his wife confirmed that they hired Cheng to come here to work, but from what we've seen since we got here, Hong realized that there was no need for people to work here, making him even more suspicious. From the moment he saw the police officer about to enter the back room, Jemin's wife's attitude immediately changed. She became strangely confused. Her answers became more and more contradictory. The policeman who checked the room quickly returned, seemingly spotting something. He immediately turned around and informed his captain. The two quickly walked inside. The young policeman immediately brought Hong to the front of a ladder and asked him if bloodstains were on it. With the naked eye, it can also be recognized as a dried blood stain, but just to be sure, Hong still told his subordinates to take samples for testing. It is important to determine whether it is human or animal blood. Through his experience, Hong found that in this room not only the smell of garbage but also the stench of corpses, so he instructed his subordinates to carefully check everything around. Hong looked around and noticed two large garbage bags tied tightly in the corner of the house. He immediately went over and opened it. Suddenly, Hong cried out in surprise when he saw what was in the bag. But looking back, it was just hair. In this bag there is a lot of hair. Not thinking about the origin of this hair, the first thing that anyone sees will think that there is a person hidden in this bag. Just when Hong and his teammates thought that these were just ordinary bags, suddenly something happened. The other bag suddenly fell to the floor. The lanyard also came off, revealing what was inside. At this point, both police officers were really startled. Because what was in it was not hair like the first bag, but a corpse. The stench immediately rose up strongly. From here, it can be determined that the victim has been dead for a long time.